Welcome to At Home with the Doctor. Tonight I wanted to talk about sleeping arrangements. It's a question that was recently asked of me, and obviously with our seven kids in our one bedroom apartment, sleeping arrangements are much different than they would would be your home. With us, we've honestly been able to change kids around. For us, putting the oldest one with the younger one, or whatever at the time worked. We've had 2 to 3 kids per room, and I know that's not like normal society. Every kid's supposed to have their own room, but I personally think it's great for them to share a room. I think it teaches them how to get along better and how to work together better. We have naturally put our girls together most of the time, but there were times where one would keep the other one awake, and we would maybe put a baby to sleep, and then an older one would climb in there later. For us, an older one was like, they're 7 and 7 years, so at most one would be 7 years older. So it was a lot of kind of maneuvering and seeing who worked the best. We also lived in multiple different homes at that time, so it was a bit of like, okay, let's see what happens. That being said, I know a lot of you love to do themes for your girls or for your boys, having like, a princess theme or a ship pirate theme, whatever you want to do for your kids. It doesn't really work when you're moving around kids. So what we usually had was like a picture or poster or some artwork that child did, and we could easily kind of move it to the other room that worked better for them. They were happier. Like, to be honest, it was a pain in the butt, but to be able to have certain children sleep better together. For example, we have 2 that go to bed really well together. Like they go to sleep, they get into bed and they fall asleep. And then we have others who need a lot of help going to sleep. We do use melatonin for our oldest, and sometimes the 3rd, and sometimes she would be 5th, to help them go to sleep. We did go back and forth with the melatonin. I know it's a kind of controversial thing because people are worried about the kids developing an addiction to the melatonin so that they can't actually go to sleep on their own. It's true, but when you have 7 kids and your one kid is keeping another kid up and it's almost like torture for everyone, you got to pick your battles. And bedtime is a battle picker. You got to pick what works for you, your family, for your kids, for your living situation, for everything. So I know people who, we know of a family who they had 13 children, and most of the time they had like bunk beds in their master bedroom, and then they had whoever needed to sleep in the room with them was there, and they still managed to have 13 kids. So I always think of them when I'm like, my house is too crowded or my kids are everywhere. You pick what works for you and your family. I had a really awesome friend tell me, as long as there's no neglect or abuse, you do what's best for your family, what's best for you as a couple, as husband and wife. You choose, you be united, you make sure that works. So in your discipline, in your daily routine, if it doesn't work, it's not gonna work. And so if you continue to try to drag on something that's not gonna work for your family, and when I say that, I mean something you read in Parenting, Today's Parent, right? Like in a magazine, we're like, oh, that parent did that wonderful thing. It might not be for your family. And a lot of those people who write those articles, that's what they do full time. So they're not with their kids all day. Their kids are put in childcare, which is nothing wrong with that. But when you're trying to look for advice and you're a stay-at-home mom, it's frustrating when you're getting advice from somebody who gets to be away from their kid all day and only see them for a few hours at night. No judgment when I say that, but it's a different perspective and a different reality for every single mom. We have kids who have special needs. We have kids who are absolutely well trained, and one kid, he wet the bed once, I think once, that was it. That's all. And it was amazing. And we have another kid who we still have to worry about peeing the bed, and it's been years. So every family is different, and you do what works for you, what you and your spouse think is best, as much as possible. So even if you think your spouse doesn't really care, still talk to them, because they are there in and out, and they want to help. They want to know how to help and how they can make life easier for you. A lot of, I'm sure, women will be hearing this, and so know that your spouse is capable, and he can help you, and he wants to help you if you give him the opportunity. Not everyone has a spouse who wants to help. But that's a whole other topic for another day. And I'm trailing on. But bedding arrangements, do what's best for your family. So there might be a kid who has to sleep in your room for a few months. Get over it. It might just be a few months. But at the same time, get them out of there. You need your independence. You need your bedroom, if that's what you choose to do. Like, again, goes back to what your family needs the most and how it will work. Some parents thrive with attachment parenting. I personally don't. I like my space. I like my bedroom. But I do know that there are children who thrive with attachment parenting. So most importantly, work with your spouse. Make sure things work, and don't be afraid to move things around, because it might need to happen, and forget about all the themed rooms and everything else if you have a large family. Even if you don't have a large family, your two children might need to share a room for a little bit of time. And there's beautiful stories that come out of that. So don't be afraid of what your family looks like and what you and your husband choose to do. The arrangements will work as they work, and don't be afraid to change them if it's not working. Okay, have a good night.